God damn it. I've been on hold to IT for over an hour and no one's picking up. How the hell am I supposed to work the printer if the nerds won't pick up?
They're on leave.
The whole department.
All of IT's out this week.
I'll try head office IT.
No, you don't understand. There's no IT support anywhere this week.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's FurryCon. They've all gone. And if something happens to FurryCon, all of IT is fucked. I hope they're having a good time. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale, and welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast where two queer trans women, that's us, we're wifey types, have a bit of a silly little catch-up about media we've consumed in the week and such.
Silly catch-up.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm a sleepy little bean. I woke up like
Too early.
dead awake at like 20 past 6 this
You
morning.
were just like, I'm ready for the day, apparently.
Apparently I was.
Oh, that's earlier than usual.
It was-
Ooh.
Yes, like 4 hours too early.
How dare.
Right?
That's very rude.
Yeah, but well, how you do? You...
I do. I'm on the tail end of many busyness
Many business.
and ready for some rest.
Mm-hmm.
What you been playing this week?
Well, I have played a couple of little teeny tiny games.
Oh, yeah.
I played Save Room, or Save Room, but I think it's deliberately designed to work both ways.
Okay.
This is one of those inventory management games
Oh,
done in the style
okay.
of Resident Evil games.
So it's you're trying to save room, but also maybe you're doing it like the desk drawers in the save rooms. Yes, I see.
You're
Okay.
trying to fit all the things in your inventory. Sometimes your inventory is a perfectly normal shape. Sometimes it's a little bit wonky. And it starts off with, here is just a bunch of stuff in your like extra inventory, and you've got to try and wedge it all into the shape that you have been given.
Yeah.
And as the game goes on, you'll get things like, okay, now you've got to reload the guns, because you need to have fully loaded guns before you go out and do whatever the next thing is,
Yeah.
to, make sure that's okay. Okay, well, now you've also lost some health, so you're going to have to work out how to use your items and which items you need to take with you and which items you need to keep. Okay, now there's too much stuff, so it might be worth seeing if you can in some way lose some health so that you can do something that eats some health, and then
You can justify using the healing item to make space.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite clever. The only thing that really bugged me about it was the combining chemicals to make ammo,
Okay.
because you can like inspect the different fluids in order to it will tell you like what they will combine with to to make a particular type of ammo, and some it's just a bit of a pain to sort of go in there every time and make sure you've got the right thing,
Yeah.
especially if you can't always immediately recognize a gun as being one that uses a particular type of ammo.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not that into fucking guns, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a fun game, pretty short. It's only 40 levels. And then when I was done with that, I played Save Room, The Merchant, which is kind of a sequel. It's basically, you have the added addition of a Resident Evil 4 style merchant who, so you have to jam everything from your extra inventory into your inventory, and then go to the merchant, sell off anything that you're selling,
Yeah.
buy anything that you need for the next level, and then recombine all of those things into the same inventory space that you had before.
Uh-huh.
Which is a nice idea. It adds like an extra layer to it.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I don't think you could have got away with doing a second release of basically the same thing as just being like, more levels.
Yeah.
So it certainly did that. And if you were someone who was kind of charmed by the merchant chat in Resi 4,
Yeah.
that's probably only because you weren't hearing it every couple of minutes because you were constantly interacting with the same merchant.
It was a fun novelty.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's not allowed to be a fun novelty here.
It gets a little bit grating if you're constantly having to go, okay, then I had to go back to my inventory and shuffle something around because it wouldn't let me buy anything else because I'd run out of space. So, and I didn't want to start arranging stuff into my inventory, my main inventory yet, because I still had more things to buy, and I would only have to potentially shuffle things back out of there. It's a bit of a pain in the bum, and you're constantly hearing like, welcome back, stranger. What do you want, stranger? How can I help, stranger? Oh, yeah, I'll buy that. What do you need? Did you get everything you need? Apart from that, it's a really interesting idea. Sometimes a little bit frustrating, but not in a terrible way. In a sort of like, yes, I needed to combine the jewels into the crown to make it have the highest possible selling price, but I accidentally sold something that I shouldn't have, and now I don't have enough things, so I have to restart the level. But it's not too bad, because generally at that point you've already got a pretty good idea about how to at least get through part of the puzzle. Yeah, it's fun. It's a cheap little puzzle game. It's not too bad if you see it on a deep discount. What about you? What have you played?
So I've been playing some Magical Delicacy.
Ooh.
Which, for transparency, it's one of the games that was in the Accessibility Summer Showcase this year. Disclaimer, I showcased it and was like, I think this is a promising looking game from an accessibility perspective. Keep that in mind. I think it's doing a lot of interesting stuff with accessibility. I really like a lot of the stuff that's there around. Some places in the game have platforms that you can jump on that will disappear after a couple of seconds. You can turn those off so that they're just permanent. There's a lot of good stuff for dealing with QuickTime events. A lot of good alternate font options. I particularly like that alongside having Open Dyslexic, they have support for Hyperlegible as well, which is a really good legible font.
And also, doesn't that one also have an option for turning off animated things?
That it does, yep. It's got a bunch of nice good legibility options. So to talk about the overall game a little bit, it is a side-scrolling perspective pixel art game where you are I believe you've just turned 21, you're a young woman who is a witch who has moved to a town to make food that is magical, and you move...
A magical delicacy, if you will.
Yeah, you move into a little house, and the mayor's like, hey, you can live here for free, just over time, pay off it as and when you can, whatever.
Look.
Yeah, this is the Tom Nook model. Go out and find people around town to make magical little meals for by combining various recipes. And it's charming, it is adorable, it is very laid back, I very much enjoyed it, ... once I got over a hurdle.
Right.
The game has quite an initial hurdle, because the very start of the game is good and handholdy in terms of hey, here's how you make a recipe, here's how you check what ingredients are needed, here's how you make this first thing you're making. And then it just sort of goes,
bye.
Okay, go explore town and find some people to make recipes for. And it doesn't explain to you mechanics. And it sort of leaves you on your own to fend for yourself a bit. And there's a lot of things that I wish I'd known up front that really impacted my experience early on. Things like, if you go out a certain door in the back of your house, there is a place where you can plant things to grow more of them. So if you only have one of a thing, and you don't know for certain where to get more of it, plant it in the back garden and have more of it later. Don't use a thing in your starting selection of materials going, oh yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to find a place to buy mushrooms soon, and then just not be able to find a place that sells them. So it's easy to kind of fall into a bit of a trap there.
Permanently fuck yourself and have to restart.
I don't know permanently, but a little bit. There's a lot of running around shops and seeing ingredients and recipes and things for changing up your cooking station for sale, and it's not very clear which ones you need and which ones are important and which are not right now.
Right.
And it's not made clear up front, how limited your currency is going to be and how you're going to get more of it and how you're going to get more ingredients and what ingredients you're going to need. And, you might get in a situation like I did early on where it's cool, there's 3 NPCs I found who want things cooked for them, and all of them involve recipes where I can't find one of the ingredients, and I'm just running to every shop and NPC in town, and none of them seem to have the thing, and I'm afraid to experiment with trying to change my materials to see if they become the thing I need, because what if I can't find that material again and I fuck myself over? Because, like, for an example, I found a shop that sold wheat, and I found a station to make a mortar and pestle station, and I was like, cool, I can probably turn this into flour. Will it turn into the right kind of flour, or will I now not have the wheat if I need it for something?
Right.
And, like, once I got over this hurdle and got into the loop of the game, really lovely, charming game, but that initial lack of hand-holding post, like, immediate tutorial was just a little too hands-off, and is the kind of thing that probably won't be too much of an issue for people now that the game is out, because there'll probably be guides and walkthroughs and whatnot before too long. But initially I did a lot of, like, floundering.
You punished me once for not having the thing, so now I have become afraid to use any of the things.
That's the thing. It was, I'm not confident I know where to find the things I need to, so I'm afraid to experiment with materials in case I dead-end myself. And it was a roadblock to get over to find a game that I ended up really enjoying. But that initial frustration definitely was there.
Yeah.
There is a really charming game underneath it, and it's on Game Pass, so if you've got Game Pass, you can just check it out anyway. Charming little game, really needs a little better onboarding.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you been playing this week?
I played some more Plan B Terraform. I think I talked about this a while ago. This was originally something I found in one of the Steam Next Fests. Got very into, loved the demo. The first edition of the game, or the first early access version, I enjoyed, but there wasn't a lot of additional content from what had been in the demo. There have been several new updates, but I've kind of gone, I'm just going to leave it a bit and let stuff happen.
Yeah.
And stuff has definitely changed a little bit. The map system is a little different. It used to have multiple overlays for finding certain things, and now it's kind of, there's a basic overlay, which is just where are your cities, where are your logistic routes, things like that.
Yeah.
And another one is trying to find if water is going to rise to a certain height. Once the ice caps have started to melt enough, or underground ice has started to melt enough that the planet has started to become habitable and there's liquid water on it, there is a period of okay, oh god, it's coming. I've got to make sure that I've researched managed to get all the stuff I need for dams going, so that I can, because dams are new, and also dam pumps, which will pump water away from anywhere it's got into and shouldn't have. So you it's yes, am I now going to be pushing water towards one of my major cities? But I've certainly got further with this version. I think I played for about 6 hours over the last week or so, and managed to basically completely get to, I think it's 1 million people, 1 million population overall across all 3 cities. Had a really good time with it. There are some stressor points, especially as you start to water starts to melt, because you need food, because at that point all of your citizens are starting to go, oh, we want food as part of our diet. We would love a bit of food, and that requires getting large amounts of nitrogen and mixing it with various things in order to make compost, and also getting large amounts of water. But the water will only appear in certain places along predetermined streams at world generation. They won't be wet enough initially to do large-scale pumping.
Okay.
And then as the rivers start to rise and arrive, and the seas start to rise or appear at all rather, you are going, the thing I put where it was perfect for getting water previously is now underwater and it doesn't work anymore. So I have to tear it down and move it back and move it back and move it back.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all the cities are just going, we need food. Could you please hurry up with the food?
I'm trying. There's many things to do.
And then you get to a point where it's okay, well now it's so wet. There is like massive oceans across like the Mediterranean point of the planet, like equatorial areas. It's like mostly ocean at this point, so I have to switch from using rail to using cargo ships. And cargo ships like hadn't been in any previous game, and there was like a real struggle to how can I get back to supplying things across the water that I was previously just sending by rail, and now it's too deep to send trains down there anymore. And this is a whole system that I'd never used before, so it's like I don't know how good it is to run ships. Like how well do they work? How good easy it is to get things on and off them? How close to them I can put the things I need to put in order to get things off of said ships and away to where they can be processed. This was the first time I built a lovely super hub. I was very happy with my big, like, just storage for lots of things, and having, like, a big central system of thing come here, get processed, thing go back out, and then you're only moving things from very specific places, and it gets way easier to track than just, I've got a bit of everything everywhere doing everything. But yeah, had a really good time with it. I think it's probably good to leave it another however many months until more stuff has been added. But I had a really good time, and I'm still really enjoying it. And for a game that's basically got one long piece of music that cycles every 20 minutes, half an hour, I never get tired of listening to it.
Yay.
What about you? What have you played?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about having played Bokura.
We did.
The game in which you're two kids going through the woods, you're trying to set off fireworks to blow up a statue, and then you see a dead deer, and now you're seeing fundamentally different versions of reality and trying to co-op while having mixed information.
Yes.
And we talked about this in the context of, we played it for like 4.5 hours, and got stuck on a little bit of puzzle, and we're getting a little bit brain melty, and we were like, okay, we'll come...
And it was very late in the day.
Yeah, and we were like, we'll come back to this later. And we came back to it a couple of weeks later, and our save file for co-op did not seem to exist anymore.
Nope.
So we jumped back in and started from the beginning, but played from the opposing perspectives.
Yes, very different.
Very different experience. And then got back to where we'd gotten to, and realised we were literally like, oh yeah, get over that one wall and it's the end of the game.
Yeah.
We were right at the end of the game when we
were literally move one box from down one lift to one area.
Yeah.
At the end of the game.
It's how do we get up that sort of that little cliff? Oh, we got up there. It's the end of the game. So we the way it worked out, we got to see both halves of it, and I think that was a nice way to experience it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it now that you've seen both sides and you've completed it?
That game does not fuck around. It
does not fuck around.
It's very hard with its emotions, with its consequences. You only make 3 choices throughout the entire game, but everything that happens in that game is pretty brutal. Even though it might be veiled behind, yes, one child is seeing sort of an adorable fairy tale book style, and the other one's seeing like a weird sci-fi dystopia.
Yeah. It's got real vibes of dissociation to not deal with difficult themes alongside, I've seen a traumatic thing and I'm a child and I don't know how to process it, and I'm gonna abstract it a bit to relate it to something I know, in amongst puzzle themes and a lot of familial stuff going on.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what this is like from the opposite side, like with the opposite choices than what we made.
Yeah,
because I can't necessarily tell how our decisions were tied to what happened, apart from the game going, "Oh, you choose this. Well, fuck you."
Yeah, there's at least one choice where it's like, oh, we chose between 2 people, and I can guess that character would be swapped for that character in a moment later. I am curious what would be different.
Yeah.
But yeah, fascinating little game. Very mechanically interesting.
Yeah.
And whoever plays the cutesy side sure has the more emotional roller coaster of visual experiences.
Yes, true. Well, for the most part. There was we talked about the dog and the spine ripping
Yeah,
constantly just, oh yes, I'll just retract my spine, it's fine.
there's definitely stuff that is like, for the other side, but I would argue like there's more emotional whiplash on the cutesy animal side.
Yeah, agreed. Like there's lots of like weird dead things and like body horror type stuff. And then the robots, like the robots are a little bit more abstracted, including like the head removal stuff.
Everything in the machine side is grey and drab and brown and cold and unfeeling and mechanical, and it's all more generally as a base note like dystopian, as opposed like it's one bleak note as opposed to colourful grim.
Yeah.
Fascinating game though.
Yeah.
Well worth checking out.
Yeah, and it's very often down to like under £3 during the sales. So
Yeah.
if you're holding off, it's especially when you consider the fact you're definitely gonna have to have 2 copies.
Yeah.
I have a copy each, but yeah, really enjoyed it.
What about you? You played anything else this week?
We should probably talk about the Deep Rock Galactic-a-thon.
We've played a lot of Deep Rock Galactic
In
both
various forms.
board game and video game form. Where do we want to start?
Do you want to start with the board game?
Have we talked about the board game at all on here yet?
No, we can't have done because we didn't record last week because you were being fancy and saving the
I was
world.
talking and stuff in places.
Yeah, you were saving the world. So Deep Rock Galactic, the board game, I've talked about from the Tabletop Simulator version that was available as a demo.
But it's finally arrived in its big box form.
It has arrived in its big box form, and it really captures the video game very well. So it is like a really light dungeon crawler for 1 to 4 players. You are going on various missions, so you're setting up tiles from like a really limited selection. There's 4 large specific tiles, and there's something like 10 or 12, I think, hidden cave tiles. The 4 main tiles are used for like the main part of any map. And then you have these hidden caves which are always placed face down, and you don't discover which one you've pulled
Until you
randomly.
like dig your way into them.
Exactly, and by being the same shape but having different things on the other side, like having an extra exit so there's more enemies pouring in.
Once you turn that one over and an oppressor's going to be there.
It's usually just Praetorians.
Praetorian,
yeah, but there is an oppressor in the swarm deck, so the oppressor can turn up. It does a really good job of like okay, we're in danger. Even when it has those swingy moments of, oh yeah, our event deck, we just pulled loads of things that increased the the swarm, meaning that the game is running kind of short. It does that thing of, hey, we're not playing on a higher difficulty level than usual, but for some reason this game is just constantly throwing swarms at us. Thanks, RNG.
Yeah, as you say, it's one of the better video game to board game adaptations that I've seen in terms of it's not overly complicating things by trying to be 1,000% accurate at all times to every mechanic of the video game, but it's not so simplified as to not feel like the thing it's emulating. Yeah. It captures that core loop of get in, we've got an objective. You're gonna have that point in the middle where you're like, I'm running out of time, I'm just trying to do the fucking objective, why is there another fucking swarm here for me to fight? Each character fundamentally has the things that make that class unique. They've got, what's your traversal thing for getting about, and what's your sort of unique item you have on you, be it the shield that you can drop, or the turret.
And you had the grapple lines, I had the platform launcher.
Yeah, so each character's got, like, their gun, their starting gun, their, like, traversal, and their additional thing that the character in the game sort of makes them unique. But otherwise, the rules aren't that different player to player, just get moving.
Yep. Do 3 actions, be that move 3 spots, or shoot something, either your primary weapon or your secondary weapon.
Or do some mining.
Upgrade your secondary weapon with gold that you've managed to get. Yeah. But then also it captures things like the point extraction missions, where you have to go and collect a quarks from around the level, you can't. There isn't a molly, so you can't just immediately turn them in and go and grab another one. You have to go back to a central point, hand that in.
I like that. I like the way that because there is an inherent time limit to all of the missions, it manages to capture almost accidentally some of that vibe of we're trying to get back to the drop pod and we're on that 3-minute timer to get back to the drop pod and scrambling for those last couple of turns and being like, I'm gonna have to leave your corpse behind and not revive you. There's 2 more steps on the track and the game's over. I'm getting in the drop pod and leaving without you, so one of us gets out.
Go.
It captures that pretty well. Yeah.
Although I think the only thing that I think that it does differently from the video game is Warden. I've never been that bothered by seeing a Warden in the video game. But in this, I was like, oh god, it's out. It's shielding things. It's making our life so much more difficult. It's the point where we had a really bad run of luck of dice rolling to shoot the damn thing. Finally got rid of it, and literally the next card we pulled brought it straight back out in exactly the same place.
Fucker. Yeah. It's real fun, though. It's good medium weight length, nice degree of challenge balance, nice amount of randomization going on, lovely little sculpted minis that you've done a wonderful job painting.
Yeah.
And it's a charming little game.
I had fun painting them, it looks great. Definitely don't think, I think I got used to the TTS mod because it flat paints all of the things to different colours. So it's very easy to tell on the board what they are, but then getting an actual copy and everything is grey and going, I'm not actually sure what anything is supposed to be here, to be honest. So it definitely made it easy that I decided to sort of jump straight on this and do a paint job, and really happy with how they turned out. Although the bottom tray of the game the original game box is a little bit snug on some of the creatures, which meant that I had done a beautiful paint job and then a bunch of the paint got rubbed off. Even though I varnished it on a couple of the models, so I have replaced it with a foam insert instead.
Yeah.
It's a great fun game. It's we did the deep dive rather than playing individual missions. We did all of the missions through the all 14 missions in the base game box, from start to finish, and had a really good time. Going through that over the course of 4 sessions.
Yeah.
4 long sessions.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole thing in the back of the campaign book about hey, do you want to just here is how you can create your own
You can
levels.
just spin up your own level. Yeah.
Ideas for how you would create it, ideas for how you would lay it out. I've got some ideas that might be quite fun. Apparently there is also an app that you can it will just randomly create missions for you, which seems like a really cool idea. But really, really enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to trying out the expansions when they get here.
Nice.
But we played more than that, Deep Rock Galactic wise.
Yeah, we've been playing the new season of the video game.
Oh, yeah, Season 5 is here.
Yeah, it's got such things as a big purple crystal you fight and there's a thing inside it. And
weird shadow creatures that jump
Oh,
around.
the jittery shadow humanoids.
Yeah.
And there's a mission that involves echolocating some things you got to dig out of some helix tunnels, and then you go down a big tunnel shaft on an elevator.
Yeah, on the drill elevator.
And then you get special flying boots. And they've tweaked some of the content, like the Doretta drill mining mission.
Yeah,
now
different phases.
Yeah, randomizes the phases that you encounter and has some new phases to deal with, and yeah,
really enjoying it. How are you? Because I've played way more of this than you have, and I've talked about it a lot.
I feel very much the way I felt about other expansions, which is you added some new stuff, you remixed some stuff. I feel like I have an excuse to come back into this and it feels a little new. I appreciate that they keep doing this.
For free.
Yeah, they support this game very well, and I appreciate that.
The other thing that's been quite nice this season is the introduction of, basically a wayback machine for missions, where you can just like go to the season terminal, and let's say you've completed everything for this one, but you missed some things from the previous season. You can just go back and get it, which means you don't have to worry about fear of loss and FOMO anymore.
Yay!
This is the perfect way to do a battle pass.
This is a non-manipulative way of doing a battle passing thing, and I love that.
It's a free battle pass. There's new content every like 6 to 8 months. And now that it was never gone forever. It was always like, yeah, you can buy some of it from the cosmetic shop, or you can like find it in like various crates around levels, randomly distributed throughout the game. So it was never gone. But the idea that you can just now go, oh yeah, I'm just going to roll back because I never played season 2 or whatever.
Just a little less stress about completing the thing on a deadline.
Perfect.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah. Like, I guess the only problem then is if you're so far behind that it feels a little bit overwhelming. But yeah, it's nice to have something to chip away through. Yeah. And the seasons are generally long enough that after that first time, when I was like, oh god, I'm running out of time, maybe.
Yeah.
Now to realise that actually, like, as long as I like casually play as much as I regularly like to, I'm not going to burn myself out on it, and I am pretty easily going to be able to get everything I want. And if not, I'll just roll back and go and get the bits I missed.
Yeah.
With no harm done. Also played a bunch of Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, because there's new stuff in that. We've got new dreadnoughts for the end of the levels. We've got new attack patterns for the dreadnought that was there, because it used to be just charge jump at you. And now it does like a couple of extra things, and it's got slightly different attack patterns and AI stuff. There's a whole new milestone thing where you can basically go in and do a 3-level mission with only a single weapon. You never get any extra weapons. Well, technically you kind of can with one of the new power-ups. But basically you're earning masteries so that the weapons that you have taken are now stronger.
Ooh.
So, like, at level 1, you're getting 3% for, I think it's reload time and damage.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, it goes, like, 3, 5, 7, 9.
Oh.
So, like, you can get, like, most of the way up and get basically 10% increase in damage for all of the weapons as you've gone and powered them up. Which I think is just, like, another really cool idea, because I think when that game first came out into early access, it did feel a little bit empty by comparison to something like Vampire Survivors, but that has had so long to be adding more and more things.
Yeah.
And this had only just entered early access, so I think it's fair that it wasn't quite as feature-rich, but it's nice to see, like, how far it's coming, and even though I put it down for a couple of months, to go back and go, oh, actually, there is a huge amount more. I think the only thing that slightly bugged me when I first loaded it up was because the milestones have changed and the permanent upgrade stuff from like outside missions has changed. They've refunded you all of those that you already had. And to find that, like, actually, I have to go and do all of those as well, including going and do milestone missions specifically, because there is a new, currency that you can only unlock through that you need to get past certain checkpoints on those increases.
See.
So it was nice that it had refunded all of the stuff, but also like, for fuck's sake, and now I need to go and get more things. Because I had maxed it out, but now there's like 4 extra things to power up, including like start with some nitrat and start with some gold, which is it's good for getting out of that first level and not feeling completely overwhelmed. Because I very often found that the first level, I was feeling like I hadn't powered up enough to collect, like to have also managed to collect a bunch of resources like nitrat and gold to spend between levels, which meant that first buying time was not always the best time. So having the ability to start with a bit more of that stuff, it's been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What else have you played?
The only thing, other thing I've really played, and you can watch on YouTube this week a slightly more in-depth video about it. I played some of the beta for Concord, which is a hero shooter being published by PlayStation. It's on PS5 and PC. It's a very generic hero shooter in a lot of ways. It's 5v5, and the modes that were in the beta were like, shoot the other team and kill their members 30 times. Shoot the other team and pick up a card they drop and do that 30 times before the other team. There was one that was an interesting mode that was... It was like a control point in the center of the map, but your party don't revive or respawn. So anytime you spend trying to capture the respawn point is putting you at risk of like permanently going down a team member.
Right.
And I was like, that was a kind of interesting mode. I had some accessibility pros and cons on it. The positives, nice and easy to get out of the way. You can make the UI really fucking big and the text really fucking big, and put really thick, high contrast, customizable color outlines around characters. Mm-hmm. That's pretty appreciated. Negatives, the big one. The narrative content has a couple of problems. First of all, it wants to be Guardians of the Galaxy, and it does not have the charisma to be Guardians of the Galaxy in its cutscene content. It is. But the bigger problem, the subtitles are so fucking poorly timed. These are some of the worst timed subtitles in a video game I have seen in fucking years. There were times I got on recording where there was like a 5-second gap between a character finishing saying a line out loud and the subtitles starting to appear.
I was also struggling with the flickering.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if it goes between a 2-line of text to a single line of text,
it'll like...
It does a weird judder.
It like snaps the line into a different position in a way that's, hard to follow.
Yeah.
So like, it's... That kind of a delay, not good if you're, like, listening and reading along because you find it easier to have 2 sets of input at once. Also not good if you're just using the subtitles by themselves because you read the speaker name, look up at the screen.
Which one's that?
Who's that? I've not associated which character is which name because they're not on screen. The name and the character aren't on screen at the same time. So, interesting game, not the kind of game that's going to be for me that I'm going to play much of, but I do like the ridiculous UI scaling and character outline size scaling options they have. Those are pretty neat.
Hopefully they will fix some of it before it actually releases.
Yeah, it's coming out end of August, and I will probably give it another look when it comes out, but yeah. What about you? You played anything else?
Yeah, I've continued with Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. The remaster.
Yeah. Reunion. It feels like there's not as much content as it might first appear. And it tries to account for that by giving you hundreds of these, sometimes ridiculously overly complicated missions to do. Like, one of the quests that I've been sort of plodding away through is just progressively fighting more and more vast hordes of Shinra soldiers. Yeah.
So going from like, okay, gonna like fight various machinery stuff. Okay, now fight 50 soldiers. Now fight 100. Now fight 200. Now fight 1,000. And like, I thought the 1,000 one the other day, and I got like 25 minutes into it and died to a random bullshit one-hit kill. And it was like, I don't know if I can be bothered to keep going with these missions. But also, I'm pretty sure I've got to the end of the game. I'm pretty sure I'm at the door to the last boss. And I have tried that last boss, and I'm definitely not ready for it. But the only way I can see to grind more health to fight that, and grind more levels in order to fight that, is to do more missions. And I'm kind of tired of looking at the same 5 or 6 different areas they've created to be the backgrounds to those fights. It's just, there's not enough variety. Like, the materia fusion's been, like, quite an interesting idea as far as shuffling things. The plot has been interesting to, like, see this side of Final Fantasy VII. but I don't know if I can be asked to get through this final boss if...
Yeah.
I'll give it another try. Maybe I was just tired and, like, not in the mood for bullshit, but, like, I feel like I am now at a sticking point where I'm kind of bored of the missions and I'm not... This is going to be my Final Fantasy 12 again. This is going to be a game I basically got to the end of, then realised that the point I am at now is grind before the final boss, and I cannot be arsed with that bullshit.
Yeah.
So I might just look the ending up. But I largely enjoyed it up until then. Have you played anything else?
No, that's about it for me.
So the last one I will talk about for me, and I'll sort of mutter it under my breath very quickly in a way that, like, will not prove anyone right, definitely won't prove anyone right. No one will be able to prove anything right, or imply anything else for future use. I've played Morrowind.
Yeah? Yeah?
It's alright.
Yeah? Yeah? So the entirety of Morrowind thoughts is, yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm quite enjoying it. But I maybe played 3 hours today, which compared to last time, it didn't crash on me, which was nice.
That's a good start.
I wasn't immediately murdered by a rat
That's also a good start.
before having bothered to save. There's been a lot of, like, just save. Save? Have I walked 20 feet? Do a save. Do a little save. And then there was, like, a brief gap where I was like, okay, I think I'm enjoying this enough that I will try and find mods to make it look more like a game that... That game was only from 2002, and I feel like it should look way better than it does. But yeah, like, quite enjoying it. I've installed a bunch of mods to make the like, models nicer and the world look nicer, and apparently the combat's different, but I haven't actually noticed. But, yeah, enjoying so far, like, by virtue of actually having a chance to get into the game. And people have said to me for years, like, oh, why don't you play Skyrim? It feels like a game you'd get into. It's like, no, I can't be asked to, because I hated Arena, I hated Daggerfall, I hated Morrowind, I hated Oblivion. I can't be asked to even try Skyrim. So don't take any implication that I'm going to play Skyrim from this. But thus far, I have kind of enjoyed Morrowind, although I may have made some poor choices that will make the rest of the game very difficult for me.
Welcome to playing
baby.
CRPGs, yeah.
Well, that's everything I've played.
Well then, time for this.
Do you want an alternative to Twitter that's just for cat pictures and cat pictures only?
Yeah!
While other social media apps always go to shit thanks to people sharing their shitty opinions, our site cleanses your timeline and leaves only the cute cats. But if you're worried that means we're apolitical, we're not. Fash, turfs, and bigots of every stripe can get fucked. But they can't see these kitties. No, meow, because kitter didn't sound good.
Kitter doesn't sound good.
No.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, I'm alright, How you doing? Just hanging out up here again?
Yeah, hanging out. Oh, I was trying to get my summer bod ready, but I feel like I'm really bloated and just really full.
Yeah, I've been waiting to pour some weather down for a while, but it's working out the right time in the schedule to do it, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's working out when to get maximum effect out of your rain, but I've been on the cloud, as it were. I've been working on a plan. I've been coming up with something.
Oh yeah.
I bought some compromised web logins off the dark web.
Oh.
I've been using them to log into people's online calendar apps.
Right. Yeah.
I've been doing some little number crunching and seeing exactly when the average person is planning to go out and be outside in the sunny weather.
Right, yeah.
To really min-max. Yeah, exactly. To really min-max when and where I'm going to rain.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Going to really ruin some lives this summer. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. That's really going to get them. Nice weather for ducks.
I'm certainly not planning around where the ducks are going to be.
Well, they don't have calendars, do they?
No.
So, what have you put in your eyes?
I've not put a lot in my eyes.
It's not been a movies week.
It's not been a movies week. It's been a travelling all about, being all busy week. But we have been watching in the time we have together. We've been watching more of the Sarah Jane adventures.
We have.
the children's CBBC Doctor Who spin-off about former Doctor companion and a bunch of kids on a quiet road, and a bunch of adventures that are all set in the modern day on Earth, no time travel, no space. Very occasionally time travel or space, but basically never time travel or space.
Yeah, basically, is there like a warehouse building on some quiet industrial estate that we can add some slightly dodgy Babylon 5 level 3D graphics to make it look like there's something on the roof?
Can we borrow one of the existing Doctor Who alien costumes and have them come to a London council estate and be like, ooh, yeah, so we've watched the entirety of, I think, the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think we're about halfway through season 3.
Yeah,
possibly further.
So we watched season 1, and then the main character gets swapped out at the end of season 1 because child actor who wanted to do their GCSEs, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
The replacement actor has grown on me. Initially, I wasn't sure about their acting.
True, but like, also it feels like, especially like watching the intro from season 3, and I can't remember if it was also the intro from season 2, but they've largely seemed to have gone from it's about the person living in the house opposite Sarah Jane to Clyde's kind of the main character.
Yeah, but I feel like a big part of that is because, and like, as I say, it's improved. The replacement child living over the road actor, didn't have the most comfortable chemistry at first on screen, and they didn't seem like they knew exactly what to do with the character other than she wants to be a journalist, therefore she's gonna be exactly as smart as Sarah Jane on solving things.
Yeah, we're basically gonna make that too. She's kind of nosy and pushy.
It's been a bit of a settling back into itself.
Yeah.
There have been some very solid episodes.
Yeah.
In amongst some quite hilariously cheesy ones.
Yes.
I think my big takeaway about the Sarah Jane Adventures right now is the Trickster as a recurring villain is the most, like, targetedly emotionally devastating Doctor Who canon villain I can think of. Because I can't think of another villain in Doctor Who whose entire thing is, hey, I'm going to pick one human being and constantly make them have to convince the person they love most in the world, the person they care about most in the world, convince them to willingly die of their own accord.
Yeah, you have to give up. You have to. You remember when you weren't ready to die and you made a deal with the devil?
Yeah.
Well, the only way that we can survive the devil destroying the earth is for you to just go, I take it back, I am willing to die.
Yeah. Hello, would you like to watch your childhood best friend and your parents and your husband-to-be all not only die, but beg to not have to die, and you have to convince them that them dying is the only thing that can save reality? And we're just gonna put you through this again and again. The Trickster's fucking emotionally devastating.
Yeah, the end of the wedding episode, which is the only one I'd seen clips from, because it's the episode where the Doctor actually shows up.
Yeah.
Was like the end of the episode was like everyone's just like, where's the groom gone? And she like she's clearly crying. She drops the bouquet and says, I'm sorry everyone, I think the wedding's cancelled, and just turns around and walks out. I was like, fucking hell. Like, I realise it's a kid's show, and they need to do, like, need to, like, avoid graphic horror, but, like, some of that's way worse, I feel like.
No, 100%. It's that thing that comes up with children's horror, where in attempting to try and be creative in not showing violence or death or gore,
just make it way more
you have to create way more devastating shit. Like, in Avatar The Last Airbender, you've got Ko the Face Stealer, who is genuinely unsettling. A villain who, it's like, oh, if you have even a tiny bit of emotion on your face, you don't have a face anymore.
No face.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been a little... Look, the Sarah Jane Adventures is a little all over the place, tone-wise and quality-wise, and it's inconsistent.
But the really good episodes are great.
The really good episodes are great, and even the not so great episodes, honestly, I
at least entertaining.
I had a bit of a chuckle at it.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a chuckle. I can at least sit there for 45 minutes watching a character going, where do I know you from? And then realise he's that man from the Amadeus theatre production that is like, I'm the greatest musician in all of Vienna. And, that'll satisfy me through a ghost hunting episode.
And then we'll sort of sit there analysing Luke through both an autistic and a trans lens.
Oh, yeah, no, because originally Luke is just is clear autism metaphor, and then it starts being like, oh no, I don't have all these childhood touchstones.
All these core memories that everyone of my age and gender talks about.
Yeah, I sort of just popped into being in this form without, like, the formative experiences that I was sort of expected to have, and I have to talk around my childhood a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, Luke. We got so much to talk about.
I have to keep some of that secret from my peers.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But, really enjoying it. We are at least halfway through everything that was made, so I guess...
I'm curious how it'll hold up continuing onward.
Indeed. But, I'm really glad I gave it a look, even though, like, I'd put it off, because I was like, it's just a kid's show, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's nothing.
I feel like it was worth sticking with beyond, like, that first double episode was definitely a little on the... this is a CBBC show vibe. But, like, it's found a bit more of its own footing over time.
Yeah, like, the fact that the bits with the Bane Mother on the ceiling constantly looked like they had mounted a TV behind some, like, scaff and were, like, doing the like, playing that out so that they didn't actually have to, like, play in the squid monster into the scene.
It's moved away from the vibe I talked about during the first episode, and it turns out I had completely nailed it based on years, where I was like, I don't know what year this came out, but I feel like it was right around the time that CBBC cancelled Tracy Beaker as a show, because I was watching it going, this feels like a show you put on your roster to fill the vibe of Tracy Beaker in your slot, and then we looked it up and this started the same year as Tracy Beaker ended. I was like, called it. It felt less like that over time, but...
it's become its own thing.
Yeah.
It had a transitional period.
Yeah, I could definitely in those first few episodes feel like you've put sci-fi Tracy Beaker on the air to keep a demographic block hanging. So yeah, what about you? What you been watching?
That's mostly it for me.
It's mostly it for me.
Well then,
time for this.
Hey Laura.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you be listening to me speaking words right now?
I do be listening to you speaking words right now.
Well, why are you doing that? Because you could instead be inventing something to buy ad space from here.
Okay.
Come up with an idea, and then buy up our remaining ad slots, because we bought too many to advertise our ad business.
Okay, so this is an ad for ad slots, because a company bought too many ad slots.
In our show.
Yeah, so they want us to buy some of the ad slots off them.
Or they want our audience to buy more of our... Look, I'm glad the ad slots sold.
Yeah.
It's good for us.
Yeah.
And no one technically has to listen to an advert.
I can try and come up with something to buy an ad slot for.
Okay. Smudge over there.
Yeah, cat defluffing glove, where you brush them with the glove and it gets the fluff. Oh no, that already exists.
Yeah.
No, that already exists. Okay, no, that's actually quite hard. I guess I won't buy any of the ad slots then. It'd be foolish to buy an ad slot without a sensible idea of what to put in it.
Well, if you've got any better ideas than a glove to remove fluff that already exists, try adbydeluxe.lol.net and enter the code Q&PS plus buy ads.
I mean, if you've got the confidence of a venture capitalist, you could just buy ads for a thing that already exists. You just gotta say it very confidently, I guess.
Probably. Isn't that what the TikTok shop's for?
Pretty much.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I had a meeting with the shareholders.
Yeah? They gonna give us a big bonus this year?
Well, look, that's not what they wanted to talk about today.
Right.
What they wanted to talk about was...
really big bonus.
It's not what they were on about today. One of the shareholders wanted to get my attention and was like, hey, I don't know if you know, you might be alarmed by this. Pornographic images of some of our company's video game characters exist on the internet.
Huh. And where would one theoretically, for research?
Well, I wasn't sure, but I put some random keywords into a search engine and sure those images do exist.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure his worry was, oh no, think of the children, less pornography damaging the brand. My concern was different. My concern, someone is making money off of those pornographic images of our characters, and it's not us.
Indeed. And there's no such thing as fair use.
Yeah. So, my question to you.
Right.
Do you think it would hurt our company image if we try to get in on that market so that we get that money? Like, hypothetically, if I wanted to get some people into the studio to film Call of Booty,
right?
Would we get in trouble?
Wordplay.
Would we get in trouble if I filmed a bunch of butts and called it Call of Booty and put some guns near it?
I love guns.
I love guns.
I love booty.
Yeah, I love booty.
I love calling things.
Right.
So
I'm not saying I logistically, there's no reason we can't do it. Just, do you think anyone will get mad if we maybe just film Call of Booty?
I think the people who play our games would probably be very into it. I think, people like us, theoretically, not pointing any fingers, but, people like us would be very into it.
Well,
my main concern would be, the right-wingers that we make a lot of money off, and they love guns. They love booty. They love to think about booty, but they don't like the people who have anything to do with selling booty.
Okay. How's about this? We put it out. We put it out under a name where no one will ever work at it was us. Supremacy Cinema.
No, just swap the first letter of so it's instead of Supremacy Software, it's Supremacy. No, that doesn't work.
No, but we come up with a clever name and we release it and we pretend it's not us. And if the right wing folks get upset about it, we purchase the right, because like that other game company from the 80s did.
Yeah, with a plumber.
Yeah, with the porn of their character, where they bought the rights to it to like put it in a vault so no one could see it.
Yeah.
So we just like pretend we're buying it to put it in the vault if anyone complains.
Right.
But like we already owned it and we still own it, so it's like we'll do it until someone complains, and then we
NFTs,
bought it to protect you from the terrible porn makers who weren't us.
Yeah, you are a fucking genius.
Yeah, I know.
So, what have you put in your ears?
So I've been listening to like one thing the last couple of weeks, and there's
a new MCR track.
To call it the new MCR track, there's a bit of preamble for people who aren't aware of what's going on. Yeah, so. Well, this story is going to start in 2012. This is about a year before My Chemical Romance broke up. And the gist of things is, The Black Parade as an album comes out, hugely critically received. The band struggles for a while with what to do next. They record stuff that eventually becomes Conventional Weapons, scrap that, work on Danger Days because they want to do something that's less emotionally heavy to create. Danger Days has a really mixed reception from fans. They go back to the studio and the band goes, okay, we need to go back to trying to create something like the Black Parade. We need to one-up the Black Parade in terms of, like, dark, emotionally heavy concept album. And they start working on this album that was going to be called The Paper Kingdom. And the gist of it was an album that was going to be a story about a support group for grieving parents who'd all lost children in various ways. And the story they were sort of telling themselves to cope with this was that imagining that the children had been kidnapped by some witch in the forest and that it was going to be this story of the children trying to fight their way back home from this witch that had captured them, and eventually the resolution being like, okay, we just kind of have to come to terms with the fact all our kids are dead. They scrapped this album because too fucking emotionally bleak to work on, and I can't fucking blame them for it. But they did start writing the album, and they did record some tracks for it before the band broke up, and some of these tracks have been floating around the internet in some form or another, in little snippets and bits of them, for a couple of years. For a couple of years it's been known recordings exist and they're in some people's hands and they're out there somewhere. And then a couple of weeks ago, completely fucking out of nowhere, one of them just pops up on the internet, and it is a track called Witch. And it is a 6.5 minute long track, the first 2 minutes of which have no vocals. It really seems like opening track of album vibes, in the same way as, like, their first album started with interlude that was like 2 minutes of instrumental, or that kind of thing, which honestly I was willing to believe this was fake because I saw it had leaked and I was 2 minutes in and heard no lyrics. And I was like, oh, okay, oh no, that's Gerard Way right there, huh? It is a fascinating track that obviously comes with some iffiness around it. And I don't blame anyone who doesn't want to check it out, because it's one of those. It's a song that was scrapped for a reason. I get it. The band did not want to release it. It was not a material they were happy working on. That being said, having heard it, it's a fucking fascinating track. It's got a lot in common with, like, the Foundations of Decay that they released a couple of years ago, in that sense of really takes its time doing a slow, grand swell with lots of, like, quietly sung bits and eventually building into, like, some quite guttural sort of, like, scream content. Like, there's a lot about the structure of it that reminds me of what the Foundations of Decay ends up being. And there's bits of the lyrics you can look at that are, like, it's very clear how this fit into the concept of what they were working on. You can see these lines, there's a pair of lines that gets repeated a bunch of times, like 2/3 of the way in, that really sticks in my head, and it was, and what you take from us, we'll take it back. What you've taken from us, we'll take it back. And it's like, yeah, I can see how that would be, like, singing about the witch that's stolen the kids, and yeah, what you've taken our kids, we'll go out there, we'll take them back, we'll rescue them. There's a lot of, like, imagery about singing about, like, a children's birthday party, and then, like, the bed is empty, and it's like, yeah, I see the concept there. In isolation, it is a very interesting track in terms of its composition, and it's interesting to hear such a rough, like, a rough mix for a track from a band that very much from their second album onwards was known for highly produced eventual album releases. Like, their first album, very rough, raw kind of energy. Like, the first EP release they did was called The Attic Demo, specifically because it was a bunch of them recording into a single mic in an attic. And this has that kind of vibe, and it's something I honestly kind of miss about. Like, I would love to hear more about that band, because it's some of the instruments are clearly not live instruments yet. They're like, oh, you've got a MIDI instrument track you laid in to, like, place it in, you've recorded some of the instruments over. It's not overly produced, and I kind of like that. Yeah, it is a very interesting track that I don't blame anyone who's like, I'm not going to listen to it because the band didn't want it out there, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But wonderful little insight into a piece of work that it's like, I totally understand that they didn't want to like release the Paper Kingdom as an album. It is fascinating a decade plus later to have an understanding of what that piece of art that ultimately was kind of their breaking point was made of. Like, what it was they were trying to put together, and to get an insight into why that might have been a piece of art that ultimately they could not bring themselves to create.
Yeah.
But it's a fucking banger of a track, though. It's a good track. I thank Jane for being understanding when I did the thing that I did when Foundations of Decay suddenly...
I know the thing now.
Yeah, you know the thing, which is like, oh, new piece of MCR music.
Get you good sound listening.
Yeah.
Play it on loop.
Play it on loop. Maybe put some headphones on and lie there listening to it on loop.
Then maybe listen to it on a speaker.
Yeah, maybe put it on a speaker, listen to it on a speaker on loop for a while, excitedly message people I know who like MCR and be like, ah, shit, music.
Yeah.
And then come to bed at like midnight going, I'm not very sleepy. But yeah, that's been really the piece of music I've been listening to. I've seen some people saying they're like, oh, well, we don't know if it's real. It could just be AI. And I'm like, well, first of all, people uploading it to YouTube are getting copyright struck by Warner Brothers for uploading a track called Wish by My Chemical Romance that Warner Brothers owns the rights to, which sure makes it seem like it's real. Secondly, as someone who has occasionally stumbled upon people trying to make fake AI MCR songs, look, they're getting better, but they're like... The thing that like tells me this is a real track is the imperfections and this is clearly... The artifacts of this is an in-production track that like anyone who's trying to fake making an MCR song is trying to aim for a very specific polished studio sound that does not make sense for a decade ago we scrapped a half-finished idea of a song.
Mm-hmm.
There is something very human about it where I'm like, AI is not doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah. What about you? You listened to anything this week?
Nothing nearly so exciting. So I've been listening to, I think we talked about this previously, I was listening to Gallifrey Time War, the Big Finish audio drama.
Yes.
Of politics around Gallifrey around the Time War. It was an interesting story. I've now listened to all 4 parts of that. All 4 parts of all 4 seasons, however that works. It's an interesting series. It's quite massive by virtue of the fact that it's trying to do like lots of big politics stuff and talk around like big capital city stuff. Like by the end of the first season, they're like, we're resurrecting Rassilon. Because that seems like a good idea, rather than having a proper vote, a proper democratic vote for actually voting someone in to be our leader. We've decided instead we're going to bring back the tyrant of old, who, sure, he got us where he is, and sure he is very respected, but you wouldn't necessarily want to resurrect the genocidal despot. Just because it's a time of war and you think you need someone to help you get through that. It also covered some quite interesting stuff about other people in the universe who don't want any part of either side. Like, they had shaky at best relations with the Time Lords before the Time War, and now that the Time Lords are just like, no, fuck it, at any cost, we will win this war against the Daleks. And doing things like putting down despair fields, like basically like a minefield in space, but it basically captures your ship before you even know that it's being captured. And if you happen to leave your ship, you will be inside basically a nightmare hallucination where you will see horrors beyond your nightmares, and maybe there is even something that lives inside that, or maybe that's just... You know how people talk about certain drugs and there's like some kind of weird entity related to it? Like I remember like years and years ago people talking about salvia and meeting the lady salvia. And absinthe and the green fairy and that sort of thing. But that's because she was on the ball. It's got that vibe of maybe there isn't a nothing man. Or maybe it's just people have heard the rumours of the Nothing Man, then they fall into a despair field, and then they experience this concept of there is something in here with us. And we know it's terrible and disturbing and so forth, and this is a nightmare weapon that, if there was a Space Geneva, I'm sure there'd be a convention about this. They're just like horrifying weapons that the supposed good guys are using. At one point, calling up them, like trying to get the Master involved to help, which was never going to go well. It's a fascinating series, and yeah, I am curious about more of the Time War stuff, and that's why I listened to started listening to Doctor Who Time War. This is still Eighth Doctor. This is almost starts off as just another adventure. The Time War hits the Doctor's timeline. He's on a cruise ship with potentially a new assistant.
Ooh.
And they're like, oh, there's something terrible happening. There's something terrible happening. We think there's something shady. There's somebody's family member's gone missing. We're going to have to go and do that. And then, like, halfway through a rescue mission of the person that was like, my family member's gone missing. This is an outrage. You've done something, haven't you? The whole timeline just gets ripped apart. And it goes from being, we're, like, people on a cruise, and also there's something sinister going on with the crew, and they're doing something sinister to, oh no, this is a former cruise liner. These are all refugees trying to escape the Time War. And we thought we'd all escaped because we'd got far enough away, and the Doctor's companion from the start of the episode just doesn't exist anymore. Huh. Just like, oh, I guess she's not a new character that we're going to have to get to know, and oh, okay. So what do? And like characters that you met earlier, and maybe they had like specific things. They've gone from being like just a young couple on a cruise that they'd won tickets on to, oh yeah, I'm like a quantum physicist. And I'm probably going to be the most helpful person for a little while now. And maybe there's a weapon that everyone is looking for, the Daleks and the Time Lords, and they're willing to kill everyone else involved. And then there's a whole plot about going through a black hole in order to get through different timelines of the same universe and experience stuff in a weird order, while there are these creatures called the Ravenous that are multiplying because they consume Artron energy, which is basically time wibbly wobbly timey wimey energy.
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
And going backwards through this experience of, like, imagine Mirror Universe Star Trek, where one of the characters on this adventure is like, oh yeah, you'd do this terrible thing, right? It's, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in those stories, and it's fascinating, and I'm curious to know where this goes. Although I was interested to see that most of the, like, Big Finish stuff runs in, like, 4 seasons of 4 parts. And there's already a 5th part to Doctor Who Time War, a 6th part announced, but not yet out. So it seems like there's going to be... They're not willing to go, yeah, we're putting a cap on Paul McGann's Doctor at any point. So I guess he's still glad for the work, I'm sure. Yeah. It's been a fascinating story from the point of view of someone who's like, I'm not willing to join the war. Because the second part of that was the Time Lords capture the Doctor and send him to a boot camp.
Oh.
Where he is basically just undermining all of the military, going, no, don't do this. Don't. They're trying to break you down and build you up so that you can become cannon fodder for their war. Don't do it. And he's got an absolute point, because a lot of these are like spoilt little Time Lord rich kids, as Time Lords generally are. And they're like, yes, I'm doing my part. Very, very, very Starship Troopers, gung-ho, too young to know any different, to, you are just gonna die. Ooh. And, yeah. You know how the Doctor doesn't like being in a trap.
Yeah.
It was a fascinating story, and I am curious where the rest of this particular adventure is gonna go, because, it's interesting. The Time War was just sort of vaguely alluded to at the start of New Who with Christopher Eccleston. Like, what happened? We know he's sad. We know all of the Time Lords are dead, and they're not, but are dead again. It's an interesting to be able to see that side of things, and I am looking forward to listening to more.
Yep.
We've also listened to the Deep Rock Galactic soundtrack on repeat for several days while we played through the board game.
That we have.
We have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you played me a bunch of MCR adjacent tracks that are in movies that
Yeah, it was. So YouTube was like, "Do you want me to make a playlist out of this MCR song and associated things?" So it was a lot of jumping between, like, there was some Panic at the Disco and stuff in there, but then it got onto a theme because it played. I think it was Desolation Row, which was a cover that MCR did for the Watchmen movie, which then got me thinking about all the times that movies have existed that MCR has made music for, some of which is actually in the film or the soundtrack, and some of which is, like, credited but never heard anywhere.
Maybe it's this 30 seconds, who knows?
Yeah, there's allegedly an MCR track that exists called Hell Hath No Fury that was made for the movie The Man with the Iron Fists, and there's maybe like 20 seconds of something playing in the background of a fight scene that might be part of the track. Where's the rest of Hell Hath No Fury? Who the fuck knows?
Nobody knows.
Safe and Sound exists, which is
the one from Tusk.
No, Safe and Sound is the one that Gerard Way does vocals on, with, I've forgotten his name, the Japanese artist's name, who was also on it. But it's the one from Final Fantasy VII Spirits Within's credits in Japan only. There's The Water is Wide, which is from the credits of Tusk, which is like Gerard Way doing this beautifully, like, gentle a cappella falsetto thing at the end of a movie about a man forcibly medically turned into a walrus. A little whiplashy. Yeah, we were going through that. Also, I remembered, literally as we're talking now, the song Vampires Will Never Hurt You off their first album appears in the ending credits of the horror movie House of Wax, in which Paris Hilton is murdered. She plays a character, she is murdered, and then about 10 minutes later MCR is playing.
Well.
Yeah. Yep. So that's about everything I've listened to this week.
That's everything I've listened to.
Well then.
Time for this.
Are you neurospicy?
Yeah.
Tired of having to make decisions about what to eat, where to go, what to do, when to go to bed?
Yeah.
We've got the app for you. Moderately Responsible Adult will help you make those decisions that seem small, but will eat your whole day if they're left to you. Just choose from a category of decisions, and our app will make the decision for you in a decisive manner, but might also let you have a little fun. It's like having a cool aunt in your pocket. Moderately Responsible Adult. Give it a try. You might get pudding. Ooh. You know, this latest series of animation that we're running is,
yes.
I think it might be our most successful yet. It's
well, I mean, the awards have just been rolling
exactly.
in.
It's beloved across the complete intersection of the internet.
I mean,
absolutely beloved.
I mean, we're not even just winning the animation awards; we're winning like the general categories.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we're very, very, very serious show. We got, we stopped treating animation like it was just for kids, and we put something in there for the adults. And,
I mean, it's making wonderful money.
It's mature without being. Oh, we said it was mature, which means it's got booty in it.
It's basically advertising itself at this point.
Well, yes. I mean, they won't stop talking about it. There's people doing TikTok voiceovers, people doing cosplays, people doing all sorts of like speed draws and art of it. We are the cutting edge. We are everything, you could possibly want from a modern animation.
Yes.
So you're renewing it, right? Right?
No, cancelled. Can't have them getting excited about a second season.
I think a few too many girls like it or something.
Can't be doing that. No. Never cross the demographics.
Never cross the demographics.
Never cross the
Cross demographic appeal, cross it off my calendar.
Indeed. Okay, find some more exploited artists that we can hire. Who think they've got something, and we can own the rights to that too.
Higher suggest we'll pay them.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more
Oh, social justice warriors.
Social justice warriors?
Yeah.
All right, Larry.
All right, mate. How you doing?
Oh, a bit under the weather again, mate. I need to get the sad lamp on, and I thought we were past
I
that.
really thought we were past that bit of the
We were
year. I
past
really
that, yeah.
hoped it. Really
But,
hoped
this
it.
is the global north getting colder and wetter, while everyone else suffers, I suppose.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It could be a lot worse, I suppose. You doing all right, mate?
Doing so. I've been thinking and grumbling about AI again.
Oh yeah, well,
Generative
understandable.
AI. Well, I mean,
till we stomp it out. Mate.
I mean, newest, most recent grumble is discovering some of my writing has turned up in an AI training data set,
Oh,
which is
right,
always fun. Always fun to learn, you know.
I mean, if it's not YouTubers with no talent of their own stealing everyone's work, it's large language models.
Well, exactly, and it's caught me wanting to have my little grumble that, like, you know, I know you know this, but sometimes I just got to get it out of me. The fundamental misunderstanding that a lot of people have about what those large language models are actually doing, like what they functionally are, because like so many companies are trying to roll them out as like intelligent, automated virtual assistants, and quickly finding that, like, our car dealership has an AI built onto the website, and it told a customer they could have a car for £1 or whatever.
Yeah, when what it is, they think it's actually answering the questions that they put in as a prompt, and what it actually is the equivalent of writing, the first bit of the meme and then just hitting the center button on your auto correct for several thousand words and hoping that's a dissertation.
Yeah, like AI cannot think. It doesn't know things. It cannot work things out. No. It tells you what it expects that you want to see. Nothing more. Like, it's not even telling you what it thinks makes sense next. It's what's the next word I can put here that is most likely for you to go, yes, that's what I hoped to see.
Yeah.
And like, people talk about like, oh, AI is getting smarter over time. No.
It's just stolen more data.
It's stolen more data, and more powerful computers are being used to basically look further back in the words to go, I am predicting the next word in a slightly longer list. I have a little bit more context from which to guess the next word that fits.
Yeah, because I know that a lot of them initially were just using literally the previous word.
Yeah, now it's like I can guess how this sentence might end.
Oh, fancy.
And but then you start completely hallucinating facts that just do not exist, because it's like I don't know how to answer your question, so I'll say a thing that sounds like it could be a true answer, and hope that something that has the right vibe is the same as a true fact.
Yeah, I mean, I had a fascinating thing the other day, a teacher talking about the fact that a bunch of his students were coming out with, completely untrue facts.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, it's true. I looked it up, I properly researched it. And, the point is that a lot of these younger kids have been taught very specifically, if you're going to look something up, you need to look it up and find a thing that will back that up with evidence. And what they're doing is they're going online to, be it Google or Bing or whatever, and they are asking questions to an AI. The AI is spitting out bullshit. And, then they're going, oh, is that true? And the AI again is going, oh, yeah, absolutely accurate. Here is an entirely AI-generated article to back up the lie I just told you.
You can teach them this shit about, like, if you go on ChatGPT, what he tells you might not be true. But AI is, like, jumping in everywhere. Like, you do a Google search, and the top answer might be an AI-generated answer based on a joke answer someone gave on Reddit 10 years ago. It's just like completely untrue, but is being sort of presented to you as a confident fact with a link to where you can see the source.
Yeah, but that's the point. They're saying that this is a real problem because the kids are doing what they have been told. Go to Google, go and research it, go and find a thing. And now when they're being told actually that information isn't correct, they are looking at it going, oh, you're just an adult, you don't know any better, you haven't looked it up, you can't prove the authenticity of saying what I've said isn't true because I've obviously looked it up in a what I believe is supposed to be a reliable source, and what you've actually done is just make bigger lies for more people.
The internet is turning to sludge.
It is. That's why I don't use browsers that automatically use AI.
Exactly.
Yeah, fancy old mate.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Ah,
Good old mate. Good
good
old.
luck. Good luck.
Right, I can go and pop the kettle on.
Oh, sounds lovely.
Nice, nice.
So, Laura,
Yes.
you do things that people might want to locate.
I do
and
stuff,
they're on the
yeah.
internet. Where would people find those things?
People would find those things at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. Just search Laura K. Buzz, you'll find all the things. This week I've got accessibility episodes about Magical Delicacy and Concord going up. Other than that, there should be VOD recordings on the Little Motac Twitch channel of some talks that I did for Nothing Without Us. The first event of Nothing Without Us, I ran a panel with Radders, the Wobbly Gamer, and Harriet Frayling talking about imagining the future of video game accessibility. And by the time you hear this, the next Nothing Without Us probably will have happened, in which I gave a solo talk about the history of video game accessibility squeezed into 20 minutes.
It's a very short version, because you've got a version of that that's like 90 minutes long.
Oh, I could easily, this could easily be a 90-minute talk. I've given it an hour before, and it's a rush at an hour. 20 minutes is...
Stuff happened. It was good.
I had to put some work in to make a coherent history of the industry in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
It's a good version, but if you ever go, oh, I've seen this one, if you see that title somewhere and Laura's giving that talk, there's more to it. Do look out for it.
Yeah, do look out for it. You can find out the version where I don't have to skim over at least 2/3 of the industry's history in kind of bullet points.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, what about you? Whereabouts are you on the internet?
Me, well, I don't have that unified branding, but I do have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, Janiac. You can find all the things of all the music I've made, the t-shirts I've designed, the things I've written, any of that good stuff. You can help support me at patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. It's been a real dry year, but that's fine. But maybe if that compels you in any way, you could help out or do a little share. Share's always very welcome. Thank you very many. And thank you very much for listening, Laura.
Yeah.
Please sing us out, please, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.